Hello everybody, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. So it's been about a month since, the disasters that were Kapollo 1 and Kapollo 2. So, since then I bought a new mic, I've forgotten how to play Kerbal Space Program, and yeah, that old crappy mic is, it was awful. There were funny buzzing noises which were, sort of annoying the whole time. Alright, so, now where we left off last we did Kapollo 2, and the problem with this one, as you might remember, was the staging. So, when I staged, it launched, well, everything went out of sequence basically. That was about most of it. So, this one here, which is number 8, should be here, no, down one, because it's got all the solid rocket boosters, so it should break off first. I have no idea what it was doing up there. I must have accidentally dragged it at some point. So yeah, those are those three. Those three. I'm not sure what the. Oh, right. So this is the escape tower. So I might want to add this to a different stage actually, just because I might want. Well, considering my previous history, I might want to hold on to the escape tower a bit longer, so that'll last on for an extra stage, and I should be good after this, so I shouldn't have any abysmal disasters like last time. So there we go. Oh, saved, whatever, meant to press launch, it wasn't looking, have to wait for it to load. Mr. Shit, yeah, okay, we can just ignore that. Alright. So, this is where all my previous disasters happened. Here on the launch. Oh, I got Bilbob and Jebediah. That's awesome. I got a good feeling about this one. This one's gonna make it to the moon. Not gonna have any random screw ups by me. Okay, so the first time I didn't give it enough thrust. Second time the staging screwed up. So. I love that acceleration, the really slow, look at all this, the space center just gets choked in like clouds because it takes so long to get up to speed. So I mentioned the overheating problems that this has in one of my previous videos, because I don't think I was particularly coherent about it though. So these orange tanks, when they go on the mainsail, they overheat really easily, which is really unfortunate because I think it's just a bug and it's probably going to be fixed. But it means that I can't throttle very high up. A way to solve it is if you put smaller fuel tanks between the large orange ones and the mainsails. Except I think I tried that with one of my previous rocket designs and it just spazzed out because all of the thrust was going into these really light things and was pushing against the rest of the really heavy rocket, so it had issues then. Yeah. Oh, shit. If you were watching the overheating then, you might have seen that we almost had a disaster. Wasn't quite looking, that would have been unfortunate. So, where are we? How fast are we going? And we're slowing down a bit, I think. No, we're not. We're doing alright. Okay. Alright, I'm about to stage first. I've actually got Separatrons on, which I'm sure you saw, or you might not have watched because the last one was pretty dull, but Separatrons, which are great. I never used to use them, except because I'd always have issues with them, like they would be too far to the top or something, and then they would have issues where instead of pushing the thing away, it would just give it lots of torque, and it would just spin back and crash into my spaceship. Fortunately though, I don't know why I got it so right in this, but it's right near the center of mass, so when these ones go off, they actually fire correctly, and the thing goes away from the ship quite harmlessly, which I suppose is the intention. I feel as if I'm... I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I might start angling a bit at the moment and speeding up a bit. I still have to watch out about speeding up. Yeah, see, look, they're starting to overheat again. So, getting into orbit is a bit of a nightmare with these large rockets that have a tendency of overheating because it just takes ages. I'm going to start angling a little bit more now. Whoop. Let's not do that though, because that'll screw us up for sure. So the upper stages of this, which you might be able to have a better look at now, once I've finished burning off like into the atmosphere, like, much higher than I intended to. So once all these orange tanks go off, all I'm left with is this. There's another rocket max mainsail through in this central stage, and that's the one that is acting as my S-IVB stage, which was fairly significant as the final booster stage of the Saturn V rockets, which did the actual Apollo missions. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Anyway, so that's going to get me into lunar orbit. Well, it's going to get me on my trans-lunar insertion. Whatever, I can't remember. So that should be good. I hate how slowly I have to burn this. I'm worried that I'm not going to be high enough. Anyway, so that's going to launch me to the moon, and then it's going to come with me to the moon, except I'm just going to leave it off on a trajectory and it's not going to be captured with the rest of the rocket. Okay, so what I've done here is I've accidentally left the thing on for a bit longer than I was intending to. How much delta V do I need to get this into a stable orbit? 129, I can manage that, that should be fine. And that way I only have to use my lower stage. I mean my upper stage to use to get out of this orbit and onto a trajectory to the moon, which is going to be fun. Alright. This is acting a bit odd for some reason. Just trying to line it up with the blue. This would be so much easier if I had the engine on, but I don't, which is a shame. I think usually I do this sort of thing with the... I'm just going to fast forward there. Okay. Okay. So this will circularize my orbit, and then I can start worrying about, you know, burning towards the moon. It shouldn't take long, so I can pretty much wait until... There we go. Maybe I should have left it a bit later, but whatever. Whoa. Shit. Why am I... This is bad. Am I in a stable orbit? Okay. What? Close enough. Yeah, let's just... I'm sort of sick of this stage, so... Cool, got rid of that as well. Got rid of my escape tower, which isn't really an escape tower. My Mars rocket actually did have a slightly more accurate escape tower. So, now I just have to wait until I get... Which way am I? Okay. See, it's much easier to rotate this. Okay, so getting ready to point along my velocity vector and burn to the moon. Actually, I'm surprised I got it into orbit. Normally I wouldn't have any issues with it, but, you know, considering the last 2 times and the fact that I haven't played this game for, I don't know, about 2 weeks. Long time. I saw that 18.4 or 0.18.4 or whatever it is out, so I figured I wanted to at least get to the moon once using this before I update my Kerbal space program. So I'm probably just going to do this the traditional way, which is without what do they call them? Adjustment nodes? Maneuver nodes, that's more like it, I think. Still doesn't sound right though, I'm not sure why. Okay. Alright, time to go to the moon. So, I'm burning... So the S-IVB was the upper stage, or the upper booster stage for the Saturn V. Yeah, almost called it a Saturn IV, that would have been unfortunate. Have rocket nuts yelling at me in the comments. So yeah, it was wait for this to get down to something like... Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'll probably adjust it a bit later. But now that I'm on my path, the shrouding containing the lander, which doesn't exist because it's Kerbal Space Program, doesn't work like that unfortunately. It's supposed to come off, and then can I stage? No, I'd better not. Oh yeah, I should stage. Okay. So here's another problem actually. You may or may not have seen what I'm referring to. So I've got this bit, which is supposed to come off, but it hasn't. That's one of the annoying things about this version. I'm not sure whether they'll modify it in later versions, but until then, yeah, I really can't be bothered adjusting it any other way. Okay. So now the command and service module, which is this, turns around. And it connects to... And so that connects to the lander, and that's when we decouple the our booster stage. So now we've got, you know, the familiar... I'm just going to back this away from the... So now we've got our familiar rocket. Yep, staging launches that. That's good. Didn't want to accidentally break off things that I didn't want to break. So now this is what I'm sure most people are familiar with, the Apollo program. So this is Kapollo 3, docked, properly set up, ready to go on its voyage to the moon. Alright, let's burn through here. We'll fly through here quickly. I always get paranoid doing this because there have been a lot of occasions where I screw up my I can't remember. Just ignore me. I'm just trying to do this instead. Is this even? Yeah, okay. Where I screw up my I can't. Oh yeah, that's right. You know when you're like time accelerating and then you accidentally time accelerate like way past what you meant to time accelerate to? I do that a lot. It's very unfortunate. Okay, so I'm going to get this into a capture orbit. The S-IVB, if you're wondering, is just going to fly off into interplanetary space. That's what they did with the first few Apollo, first few S-IVBs from the Apollo missions. Afterwards, they started taking to sending them on a collision course with the moon, and then they would map out their impact and use geological readings from previous Apollo landing sites to map out the density of the inside of the moon, which you can do by telling how the shock waves get to you from the other side of the body. Okay, so this maneuver node, I've got 200 and something meters per second. That should be easy enough to manage. Alright, and I think I'll probably split the video here, well not here, but once I get into an orbit, or not an orbit, but you know what I mean. Video will be split when the video is split. If I can't vocalize what I mean, then, you know, just ignore me. So I'm surprised how smoothly that docking went anyway. I've had a lot of issues with those. I remember trying to do it once without because as I might have mentioned previously, this is my second Apollo clone imitation mission that I've run. My previous one, God, screwing with the camera views. My previous one I did was a lot heavier, and this one's a lot better, and I'm much more fond of it. I think it looks better as well. But yeah, I've previously done the docking where that bit which I deleted, I didn't delete, I just left it there, and then that caused all sorts of problems when the magnets were trying to connect, but there was a physical block, and it was spazzing out a bit. It was a nightmare. Let's delete this node. Perhaps this is that. Alright, that's fine. I don't mind. Now I can just go see where this goes. So I'll probably end it here following the S-IVB on our escape trajectory. Screen. Camera angles. And there goes the moon, and Minmus, and Kerbal. Kerbin's somewhere. There it is. And so now this goes into solar orbit. So, Apollo, I forget which one, but in 2004 I think it was, people observed a small, like, asteroid-sized object, like, floating around in Earth's orbit, and they were really surprised because things can't have stable orbits in Earth's system because of how heavy the moon is and how unstable that makes any orbits. And so anything that's why we don't have any other moons after a few orbits. It goes close enough to the moon to be flung out or shot into Earth or whatever. But they found something which was unidentified in Earth orbit, and by using spectral analysis of the reflection of sunlight, they realized that it had the same paint as was used on the S-IVB stage of the Apollo rockets. And they determined that it was one of the Apollo rockets, the S-IVB stages, which had gone into solar orbit, and then it had gone in a big horseshoe thing which lasted, like a horseshoe orbit, which is a sort of, it's complicated to explain. It's basically an orbit which is dependent on two bodies, plays around with like Lagrangian stuff. I don't know, I can explain it using maths, but it's hard with words. Anyway, so it was going through a 30-year cycle where it had returned into Earth's orbit, and it did about 6 orbits and then was flung back off into space, or back into interplanetary space. I'm not sure whether we'll ever see this one again, because, for obvious reasons, Kerbal Space Program doesn't actually run 3-body systems. And I think I'll leave you here. Next video will be going down onto the moon. I think I'll take Jeb as my pilot, and probably Bill, because I don't know. Yeah. Alright. I'll see you then.